Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about the women who are reshaping our world. Coming up, we take a look at Janet Yellen, who begins her job as the first woman head of the US Federal Reserve. And in light of that historic appointment, what does it say about the obstacles women are still facing in the world of finance? Also, why nearly 70 years on, South Korea's comfort women are still waiting for an apology. For the first time in its 100-year history, the US Federal Reserve has appointed a woman as its chair. Janet Yellen will become the most powerful central banker in the world. But the 67-year-old's appointment has also been viewed as a symbol of women breaking through the reinforced glass ceiling that very much still exists in the world of finance. Kate Moody has more.
Her new title is the $16 trillion woman. Janet Yellen is taking the reins of the U.S. Federal Reserve, shattering a century-old glass ceiling.
She will be the first woman to lead the Fed in its 100-year history.
As commander-in-chief of the American economy, the 67-year-old will focus on lowering the 7% unemployment rate and winding down the Fed's $75 billion a month stimulus program.
More needs to be done to strengthen the recovery, particularly for those hardest hit by the Great Recession.
But she'll also bring a human touch to the U.S. Central Bank. Sometimes described as a kitchen table realist, Yellen's scholarly work has focused on the real-life impact of economic policy. A one-time advisor to Bill Clinton and former president of San Francisco's Federal Reserve, Yellen was a working mother, raising a son with her husband, the Nobel-winning economist George Akerlof. Yellen says they each made compromises to balance career and family.
I had a spouse who was very committed to being a completely full partner in our marriage. I think if you counted up how many hours each one of us logged in, he certainly gets more than 50%.
Down the street from the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund is ruled by Christine Lagarde, also the first woman to take the helm there. France's former finance minister, she's been outspoken about her hopes for women's advancement, even suggesting the 2008 financial crisis could have been better handled with a feminine touch.
I'm known to have said that there would probably not have been a Lehman Brothers if there had been more sisters together with the brothers.
Lagarde headlined a panel on gender-driven growth at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, where just 16% of the 2,500 delegates were women.
Basically, to change ultimately the percentage of women at Davos, you have to change the percentage of women leaders in business, in politics. You know, it's a reflection of the percentage of women at the top of any field.
Among those leading their fields in the private sector, General Motors chief executive Mary Barra, the first woman to head a major international car company. Indra Nooyi has led Pepsi for 8 years, while Silicon Valley boasts the likes of Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg or Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer. It's a formidable list, but one that's still lacking. Studies show there are far fewer women than men in leadership roles in both the public and private sectors around the globe, with many still fighting their way to the top.
And that report by Kate Moody. Joining me now in the studio is Isabelle Lafour, a journalist for the French business daily La Tribune. Her job is to cover women in the world of finance. Isabelle, thank you for being with us. Just how important is Janet Yellen's appointment to women in general?
She is a symbol. It's important because now the situation is complex. In the 70s, women need to fight, to defend and to promote their rights. Now we are making a lot of progress everywhere in Europe, and in Europe, in the United States, and in the world in general. But we need symbol to go faster.
Isabelle, obviously there's been very slow progress, as you mentioned, but why is the world of finance still very much a bastion for men?
It's power. You know, the finance is the power of the world. So men take care of their power and they defend their position. But since the last years, there were not so much women who were following university and MBA in finance. Things change one more time, but and a lot of women want now to go and to specialize in finance.
So how does France differ to the rest of the world?
In France, we are lucky because we have a political will. Since the 80s, the politics party, Democrats Party, from the right to the left, wanted to promote women at a good place. And in the last 10 years, there was a lot of big law, as for example, the law of Copé-Zimmermann, that pushed women to enter to the boards in the company. And so in the last 5 years, we had made a lot of progress. So now you can find 26% of women in the board of the current company, and I think it's 26% in the SBF's 120. So it's very good, but we need to go faster too.
Further and faster. Now, Isabel, talking of gender gaps, earlier I interviewed the South Korean Gender Equality Minister Cho Yoon-sun about the massive gender gap her country faces. South Korea ranks 111 out of the 135 countries on the Global Gender Index. Just to give you some idea, it places it just below the United Arab Emirates and just ahead of Kuwait. And I asked the minister, how could this happen in Asia's fourth largest economy?
Most of the Koreans were shocked about the low ranking, about the gender gap index. Actually, the kind of basis of the statistics are based on the year before our president was inaugurated. So perhaps from this year, the announcement will be a little bit better, we expect. But actually, the major problem, the major reason for that low ranking is because of the low participation rate of female in the economic marketplace.
Now, Isabel, is the situation in South Korea a sort of general reflection of what is happening across Asian countries?
If we take the situation in India, India is the majority of the financial institutions have got women at their head. But in the same time, we know that the situation of the women in the society is very bad. Their lives are in danger. If you take the situation in China, a lot of women are taking place now at the head of company. But in the same time, there are not a single woman in the politics bureau. So it's really depends of each country, and it depends on the political will.
Isabel Lafour, thank you so much for being with us. Now, the South Korean minister was here in France to promote an animated film on the plight of her country's so-called comfort women. The term is used to describe tens of thousands of girls across Asia, including South Korea, who were forced into prostitution by the Japanese army during World War II. Only a small group are still alive today, and they're demanding an apology and compensation from the Japanese government. Claire Murphy has more.
A quiet suffering hidden for 5 decades. Not until the early 1990s did South Korea's former comfort women first lift the lid on their wartime experiences. Brutal abuse at the hands of Japanese soldiers. But exhibitions and animations are now relaying the horrors of these military brothels in the women's own words. The government in Seoul says it wants to see the women's dignity reclaimed, while also highlighting the ongoing use of rape as a weapon of war.
What we have to do is to properly resolve what have been done in the past. And we think that apology is not to blame somebody's mistake, but an apology is a very courageous and strong commitment not to repeat the same mistake again.
This is the 22nd year that victims and their supporters have held weekly protests outside the Japanese embassy in Seoul. They're demanding official contrition and compensation. But Tokyo insists the issue was fully resolved with the normalisation of relations between the two countries in 1965 and has declined dialogue. Only 55 of the known victims are alive in South Korea today, their average age 88 years. Another of their number passed away just a week ago, and campaigners stress time is running out. Mindful of this, the oldest survivor recently had her biography re-released.
My mother thought I went to my aunt's house. Nobody knew where I'd gone.
Years of sex slavery and shame, but the testimony of these women finally ensures that even after they've departed, their history will remain.
And that's it for this edition. If you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, check out our Facebook page, France24/the51%, or send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far, and do keep those comments coming in. Until our next program, bye for now.